better daily, where we work hard in our minds, bodies, and our spirits to become 1% better every single day. Download the app and join our Betterment family at betterdaily.live to catch the video version of these podcasts. Here's your host and my dad, Alex Van Houten.
What is up, Betterment family? This is Alex Van Houten in Better Daily Live. Happy Monday. It is Mindset Monday, and I'm very excited to bring you this mindset today. Our mindset is master yourself. I'm very excited to bring this mindset to you. Before I get there, I did want to say I'm sorry I missed you guys last week. Last week, I started the week out pretty rough. I felt physically ill. I don't know if I had something. I didn't have fever and stuff, just a migraine, and it lasted a long time. Do you get migraines? You ever had a migraine? I don't have it very often, and I really don't know what my triggers are, although it might have something to do with the overconsumption of caffeine in days prior. That happens to me sometimes, which is why I take breaks from coffee pretty regularly in my life. Either way, I went to record Mindset Monday last week, and I was like, there's nothing that's going to come out of my face that's going to be encouraging or helpful. So I did not go live last week, but that's okay because we're ahead on content, and I know that you are perfectly capable of setting a wonderful mindset for yourself. And we have almost 200 episodes. Actually, we do have 200 episodes at this point published for the Better Daily Shortcast to keep you motivated even when you can't hear me live. So thank you for sticking with us. Good morning, KT. Thank you for joining me this morning. So the mindset, master yourself. This is a very, very challenging mindset. So get excited. And it's a biblical mindset, which I think is, well, not only do I like the Bible, but I find a lot of meaning in depth in many of the words and stories written therein, and I find them worthwhile to keep returning to. I like to say often, the words of the book don't change, but I change. And so when I come back to it, I always get something different or new because my perspective has shifted and perhaps I've grown in some areas, or perhaps there are things that I've lost or forgotten about that I need to return back to. And so master yourself. Now, from a purely physical and biological standpoint, this mindset speaks to the idea of mastering your attention and your focus. A really simple thing that you can do to master yourself is to get a handle on your breathing. Okay, so I'm going to lead you through that before I get to the more philosophical and spiritual stuff. But breathing's a really interesting thing because it's one of the very few things that is involuntary. That means you don't have to think about it. You don't have to control it, and you'll keep doing it. Funny story, my youngest, we were talking about somebody at our local church who was struggling with a pretty severe illness, and her time had come. You know, she was on her deathbed, and it was actually really beautiful. The family was prepared for it. She was prepared for it. And as difficult and grievous as death is, it was actually a very peaceful passing. But at the same time, my youngest overheard the discussion. He's like, so how do you die? And well, I wasn't around for this. So my poor wife, she's like, crap, this is a dad question. She likes to throw those at me. Go ask your dad, when do you die? What happens? So she said, well, when you stop breathing, you can't keep living. So you die. And so the whole ride home, he's 3, he's in the car seat behind, and he's, she goes, Bennett, what are you doing? And he says, I'm trying not to die. So he has all of a sudden realized that he needs and he doesn't understand that breathing's just going to happen involuntarily as long as everything's still working in your body. You don't have to think about breathing for it to happen. That's called your parasympathetic nervous system. That's the part of you that's unconscious right now. If you ate food yesterday, you were blessed to have it, then your digestive tract is moving it through your digestion without you thinking about it. You're not thinking, all right, gallbladder, put out that bile now. Okay, go. Okay, small intestine, I need you to move it, go. Like when you swallow, you initiate it, but peristalsis actually pushes the food down your esophagus into your stomach. So you don't control that. That's your parasympathetic nervous system. And so your breathing is actually attached to your parasympathetic nervous system. And interestingly, you can also direct your attention and focus to it. Even though you normally aren't thinking about breathing and you're doing just fine with it. My youngest is still learning this. You haven't thought about your breathing for 3 years and you haven't died. You're okay. You're going to make it, buddy. Oh man, being a parent's fun. He's like, Dad, I can't hear you breathing. Are you breathing? Like, I'm alive, man. Yes, I'm breathing. Don't you worry about me. But you can also take your attention and you can place it on your breathing and you can control that. And this is one of the reasons that taking a deep breath feels good, because it's one of the few things you can do to take half of your nervous system and the other half of your nervous system and to integrate them, to put them together. You can say, I'm going to control my parasympathetic nervous system, which normally does not lend itself to control. And I'm going to use my sympathetic nervous system in a way that's well controlled. My sympathetic nervous system is my conscious one. It's usually in response to stress, right? Heart rate increases when the sympathetic nervous system is activated. Your pupils tend to dilate. The sympathetic nervous system is almost exclusively the one you use to exercise until you get really good at it, in which case some of those things start to happen unconsciously, like good deadlift form, which you should also master. But what I'm telling you is that mastering yourself could be as simple as directing your attention at your breathing right now. Can you master your breathing while you walk? Can you master your breathing while you do yoga? Can you master your breathing while you do exercise? Can you master your breathing during a difficult conversation? It's hard. It's not easy. And a small thing like breathing is just a tiny example of the idea of mastering ourselves. There's this really interesting story called Cain and Abel, which a lot of people think is a kid's story, but there's so much to it. Anyway, in the story of Cain and Abel, Cain brings his sacrifice to God, and it's subpar, right? Cain gets angry because God's not real happy with his sacrifice. And so he says, God, to Cain, if you did your best, it would be enough. Something like that. There's a bunch of different ways you could translate that. But Cain didn't bring his best. He didn't bring his best sacrifice. And then God says, look out. Sin is lurking at your door and wants to have its way with you, and you must master it. Because in the story of Cain and Abel, Cain becomes jealous of his brother. His failure to bring his best, his failure to master himself, I know that's hard, his failure to master himself causes resentment toward his brother. And he acts on that resentment, and that resentment leads him to kill his brother and then to have a punishment that's greater than he can bear. He loses everything, including his family. And well, that really stinks for Cain. But it's a really interesting verse because, in Christian circles, a lot of times it sounds like, well, I don't know if you grew up in church or not, but people will say things like, I'm just a sinner saved by grace. I'm going to mess up every day. I'm not perfect, and it makes it sound like somehow it's acceptable to suck at life. It's not acceptable to suck at life. That's not what you were made for. Dang it. And that's what God says to Cain in short order, to master yourself and bring your best. Don't be lazy about what you're doing today. Don't be lazy about what you're up to this week. Don't be lazy about taking care of yourself. Don't be lazy about loving the people in your life that you care about. Don't be lazy. Stop it right now. And master the resentment that comes when it's all your stupid fault. I'm preaching to myself here, if you didn't know that. So master yourself. Master yourself. Very, very interesting call to Cain because God says that to Cain, which implies that God knows Cain is capable of that. Cain didn't come back to God and go, oh, man, I messed it up again. Oh, will you just please forgive me for, killing my brother and stuff? No, he has to bear the consequences of that because God knew he was capable of more. And when I say master yourself, and I tell myself to master myself, that means that I know I'm capable of more. And it means the same to my clients too. They won't do their homework or whatever from an exercise perspective. I'm like, why not? And you're like, oh, this and that. I know these are just excuses. And I could say, no, they're obstacles. However, I know that you're capable of overcoming them. I know that you're capable of carving out time. I know that you're capable of pushing out that one more set. I know that you're capable of planning your meals better. I know that you're more capable of going to bed on time. And well, you are. You're capable of mastering yourself, and it's worthwhile to do so. There's another story in the Bible that's been bouncing around in my head lately. I'm preparing for a Bible study this fall on spiritual gifts, and so I've really been looking into scriptural notes about healing and leadership and administration and craftsmanship, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited to teach that this fall. It's going to be very challenging. It's very challenging to know how to think about these things while doing justice to them, and also, well, helping people to navigate them. Good morning, Janet. Thanks for joining me this morning. And thank you, KT. This was a good mindset this morning. I appreciate that it's helpful to you. There's a really interesting passage in the New Testament before Jesus starts his ministry, and he's fasting for 40 days. That's a long time. We do our 40-day challenge around here. Some of us fast one day in that 40-day challenge. That Faithful 40 challenge would be very interesting if we were like, all right, we're all going out without food for 40 days. I don't think most of us would make it. Not that we don't have the discipline, perhaps, not to eat for 40 days, but I think some of us would keel over and die. So he said he's in the wilderness for 40 days. And I was reading the story to Gabriel recently. And, Satan comes to him and he's like, hey, turn these stones into bread. And Jesus is famished. And he's like, no, I'm not doing that. And he responds with scripture, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God. And then he brings him up onto this high tower. Is like, throw yourself down and see if the angels will catch you. Because that's really tempting, by the way, right? Throw yourself off a building. And Gabriel was really, really confused about this. He's like, why was that tempting to Jesus? And, I've thought about that for a while, because it's not something adults tend to think about. Like, oh, he was tempted. And he told Satan to go away, and that was good. And then he started his ministry. Jesus is cool, right? Thumbs up. But it was really interesting to me because I never noticed that before each of those temptations, there's this phrase, and it says, if you are the Son of God, if you are the Son of God. That's what Satan's saying to Jesus. And I thought, that would be the temptation, wouldn't it? Not necessarily I'm hungry and I would like some bread. Not necessarily I'm on top of a building and I'd love to see what angels look like. The temptation is, who am I really? What am I capable of? Because God loves me. I would like some proof. I'd like to be able to move forward without faith. I would like to know. And that was Satan's temptation to Jesus, was, do you know yourself? Maybe you haven't mastered yourself. Let's get some proof right now. Let's see how that goes. And part of mastering yourself is knowing who you are. I'm going to tell you who you are. You are special. You're an amazing creation. You're capable of powerful and good things. You don't have to be a slave to the garbage that you've been a slave to your whole life. You don't have to continue the cycles of your family. You can be different. You can master you. So, my mindset for you today is to master yourself. Look in the mirror with love at that person staring back at you and say, you can do better. And we're going to do better. This has been Alex Van Houten in Better Daily Live. Good luck mastering yourself this week. And until tomorrow, it's just 1%. You got this.
Thank you for joining us for your 1% Better today. Don't forget to subscribe for the podcast. Leave us a raving review to tell others how Better Daily has helped you in your journey. If you want more Better Daily, download our app and join our Betterment family at betterdaily.live. Use code POD to get 25% off your subscription. That's POD, all caps, to save 25% on your subscription. We all have a cross to carry. It's lighter when we do it together. Go to betterdaily.live today.